Hi guys, welcome to the last seminar of this program year. So what we're going to talk about today is credit and credit scores, what they are and why they matter. Okay? Now for the next slide, I want you guys to write down what your answer would be to this. Now I don't want you to think that you are supposed to know all this up front. I expect that you're going to get some of these wrong. So please don't fudge on your answers. If you got it wrong, on the survey that you're going to take after this, we will actually, that's going to be one of the questions, is out of the 5, how many did you know that were correct? So it's just a starting point for us. So don't think that you should have known the information ahead of time. Okay, so here we go. The first question, there is only one credit score. Is that a myth or is that a fact? Second statement, shopping for a loan lowers a credit score. Is that a myth or is that a fact? Okay, number 3, credit reports are free. Okay, number 4, a low credit score has little impact on the interest rate a borrower pays. Okay, number 5, only banks and lenders use credit scores. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes for you to go back and look and then answer these. I am fighting a cold, so bear with me with the coughing, okay? Okay, so here we go. So the first one, there is only one credit score. That is actually a myth. There are many popular misconceptions about credit scores. Okay, so the first one, there are many different credit scoring models used by different credit reporting agency and a variety of different lenders. Okay. The next one, shopping for a loan lowers a credit score. This is also a myth. Okay. So multiple inquiries made within a short period of time do not lower a score. So credit scoring models take into account that consumers may shop for loans that have the best interest rate. They actually encourage you to do comparison shopping. It's when there are months in between the credit checks that it can flag your report, okay? All right, number 3, credit reports are free. Actually, that one's truth, okay? So consumers are entitled to a free credit report every year from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies. However, there is usually a fee for credit scores. So if you would like to visit this site, it is www.annualcreditreport.com for your free credit report. And you should actually look over those pretty hard whenever you're looking at them. Okay, so number 4. A low credit score has little impact on the interest rate a borrower pays. Okay, so that one is a myth. Okay, although there are several factors that determine the terms of a loan, a low credit score almost always means higher interest rates. Higher interest rates add thousands of dollars to the life of a loan. Okay, so be careful on who you choose. You want to go with the one who has the lowest interest rate. Okay, and the 5th one, only banks and lenders use credit scores. That is a myth. Okay, some types of credit scores are used by insurance agencies, some are used by landlords, and some are actually used by employers. If you want to work in a bank, you typically have to have a pretty good credit so that they don't feel you're at risk for robberies and things like that in a tempting work environment. All right. 5 steps to building your credit score, okay? The first, you need to monitor your credit report, check your credit score, and understand the scoring system. You need to find your motivation and manage debt wisely. Those of you who have the dream of owning your own home one day, that would be considered your motivation, okay? All right. So, lenders, landlords, insurance companies, and potential employers may be checking your credit report or score. Credit scores give a glimpse of consumer stability, and lenders assume that consumers with higher credit scores will be more likely to pay back loans. A person who has a long history of responsible credit management is estimated to be reliable in other avenues as well. So a consumer with a solid credit report may be more likely to land the job, acquire the apartment, receive lower insurance premiums, or be offered the best interest rates on a loan. So it pays to have a good credit score. Here are some ways you can build your credit scores, okay? So, monitor your credit report, and there you'll see the address once again, so if you didn't write it down, you can still do it, okay? So when you're doing your monitoring, you need to look at all the addresses they have you at, everything like that, because a lot of times someone else's information may have accidentally been put on your report. You need to check, for instance, mine had my current husband as my ex-husband, so that was a big no-no. Okay, the next one is check your credit score. Okay, sometimes this can cost $1, sometimes $2 or $3 just to check it. However, you want to make sure if you go to one of the sites that if you're only wanting to pay for that credit score right then, that you do not enroll into their credit management program, because it will charge you a monthly fee. So be very careful what you're checking. So your annual credit report is free, but you must purchase your credit score. Credit scores are available from a variety of different sources. Lenders rely on these scores from the 3 main credit reporting agencies, or they may have their own. The scores tend to be close, and you typically won't find vast differences from one agency to the next because they're all based on your credit management behavior. Most scoring systems range from 300 to 850. Higher scores qualify for lower interest rates, and most consumers have scores in the 600s or 700s, so you can check your score. Other sites may offer a free credit score, but be aware that it may differ from the scores provided by the major credit reporting bureaus. Watch out for hidden costs such as credit monitoring offers. You need to only purchase your one-time score, but many websites will try to have you opt in to a monthly fee to monitor your credit, email a monthly report, or some other service, okay? Understanding your score. Okay, want to improve your score? You'll need to know what factors influence the score. There are several good practices that are critical for any credit score, such as making regular on-time payments, maintaining a low debt-to-income ratio, and having a long history of responsible use of credit. There are some variations among types of credit scores. The most commonly used types of credit scores are FICO and Vantage Score. Okay, so let's look at FICO score first. Okay, as you can see the different diagrams, it shows how much of the information goes into that particular score. So the FICO scores range from 300 to 850. There's no hard rules about a specific number that ranks you as a good credit risk, but generally, credit scores in the mid 700s and above are considered excellent. Credit scores in the mid 600s and below are often considered higher risk, and these consumers may not qualify for conventional loans. So FICO scores are determined by credit payment history, amounts owed, length of credit history, mix of credit, and new credit. So 35% of the credit payment history, okay, if you look on the map. So a long history of making regular on-time payments is the main component of a good credit score. So a few missed or late payments may not be a deal breaker for a good score. An overall good credit history can outweigh one or two instances of late credit card payments. However, having no payments late in your credit report doesn't mean your score will be a perfect 850 either. There are other factors that determine a credit score. So the account types considered for credit history could include your credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, anything like that. Okay, so your retail accounts, if you have credit from stores where you shop, like department store credit cards. Now, some of those credit card companies or department stores have actually closed down, so you may not have a whole bunch of those. So installment loans, which are loans where you make regular payments, and that would be like your car loans and things like that. Finance company accounts and your mortgage loans. Okay, so then we see the next big thing is 30% of the amounts owed is the next highest scoring item on your score. Okay? So, too much credit may mean the consumer is overextended and at risk of not being able to repay the debts. So, scores are influenced by the total amount owed and the amounts owed by types of accounts. So that could be your credit cards or installment loans. So the credit utilization ratio on revolving accounts is the percentage of available credit being used. So maxing out your cards can lower your credit score. Credit card lenders often report our monthly statement amount to the credit bureau. So even if you pay off the balance every month, it may not be reflected on your credit report. So it might be good to know when they actually make those reports, when they send them in, so that you can try to pay your bill off in that amount of time so that it will reflect on there. Okay. So paying down installment loans is a good sign that you're able and willing to manage and repay debt. For example, if you borrowed $10,000 to buy a car and you have paid back $2,000, you still owe with interest more than 80% of the original loan. Okay? So it's good if you can throw extra money at that, please do. Okay, so then the next big one is 15% length of your credit history. Okay, so you may have to use credit to have a credit history. So the longer your positive credit history, the better. You can bounce back from a bad credit history and show a recent good credit history. Late payment behavior in the past can be overcome. Reestablishing credit and making payments on time will raise a credit score over time. Okay, so next is 10% is your credit mix. Okay, so this is credit cards, retail accounts, installment loans, finance company accounts, and mortgage loans are different types of credit. Having credit cards and installment loans with a good credit history will raise your score. Strive for a healthy balance of types of credit. Too many credit cards or having only installment loans can both lower a score. So a closed account will still show up on your credit report and continue to affect your score. And then the next is 10% is your new credit. So avoid opening several new accounts over a short period of time. New accounts lower the average account age, lowering your score. An inquiry is when a lender makes a request for your credit report or score, and inquiries remain on your credit report for 2 years. Although FICO scores only consider inquiries from the last 12 months, FICO scores have been carefully designed to count only those inquiries that truly impact credit risk, as not all inquiries are related to credit risk. So if you apply for several new cards within a short period of time, multiple requests for your credit report information will appear on your report. So shopping for new credit can equate with higher risk, but most credit scores are not affected by multiple inquiries from auto or mortgage lender within a short period of time. Typically, these are treated as a single inquiry and will only have little impact on your credit score. So it's okay to request a check your own credit report. Checking your credit report won't affect your FICO scores as long as you order your credit report directly from the credit reporting agency or through an organization authorized to provide credit reports to consumers, such as MyFICO. Okay, is that clear as mud, or have you guys got it? Okay. So, next we have VantageScore. Okay. So, as you can see, extremely influential is your payment history. Highly influential is age and type of credit, percentage of credit limit used, and then moderately influential, total balances, and your debt. And less influential, recent credit behavior and inquiries, and your available credit. Okay? So, when in the earlier versions of VantageScores in Model 1 and Model 2 range from 501 to 990. The newest versions, Model 3 and Model 4, range from 300 to 850. So you'll see it's trying to score like FICO. So there's not such a huge gap. Okay, so under extremely influential, we had payment histories. So if you make regular and on-time payments, then that is very influential on your information, okay? So the age and type of credit, use a variety of types of credit. So you might try and get a $1,000 loan at a bank as well as your credit card, and that would be rounded. But if you have 12 credit cards and no payment options, such as for your car and stuff like that, then you can't, it's not well rounded. It's all one-sided on a credit card, okay? And then keep balances low, less than 30% of your credit limits. So don't just make the minimum payment. Pay even $5 or $10 over that, and that will help lower that, okay? Moderately influential, okay, is your total balances and debt. And this is reduce the amount of debt you owe, because the more debt you owe, the higher the risk you are, okay? So, and then you have recent credit behavior and inquiries. Avoid opening several new accounts over a brief period of time. So if you start seeing your credit going up, don't suddenly go and get a Visa and a MasterCard and a Discover card all in 1 month, because that will reflect negatively on this one as well. And then available credit, only open the amount of credit you need. So they may offer you $1,000, but really if you only want $500, you can actually ask them to lower your credit limit. And that's always a good option. And that way you don't overspend your budget. Okay, so finding your motivation. Okay, so money itself is not the end goal. Purpose of money and all of our resources is to create the life you want to live. How do you envision your life in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What's important to you? What are your values? Money management is easier when you have specific goals, and a lot of you have specific goals. So you should also put your credit scores into that budget so that you know where you need to be. If you're really wanting to buy a house within a year to 2 years, then you need to make your credit report a big thing for your stuff. You need to find out what items need to be paid off, and then you need to pay those. So one of the most important things you can do to take control of your finance is to evaluate your goals. So goals give you direction and motivation for the use of your time. Take some quiet time to think about what you really want in your life. Step back and reflect on your personal values and list the steps it would take to actively work on the accomplishment of these goals. Make your goals and the steps to achieve them as specific as possible. If you keep them specific, then it gives you very little wiggle room, because sometimes we will, I will pay this much next month, and you'll double up on it. But if you have a specific budget that is down to the last dollar, adding that money back in and doubling it next month may throw your budget off. So be very specific so you don't have wiggle room. Okay? So same thing with find your motivation. Okay? Money itself is not the end goal. The purpose of money and all your resources is to create the life that you want. Okay, so one of the most important things you can do to take control of your finances is to evaluate your goals. Okay, so you should have them written. They should be positive and visible often. Kind of like when you are working on losing weight. So you'll put little signs on your refrigerator, and it may say 5 more pounds to go, good job, and that will put you back in the mind frame of, you know what, I don't need that piece of pie that's in there. Okay, so when you're building your goals, short-term goals are considered less than a year, and long-term goals are usually 5 years or longer, and medium-term goals are in between all of those. So you may set different time frames for other categories. For example, if your goal was to buy a new car, your short-term goal might be to save a certain amount from each paycheck. And then your long-term goal might be to save a certain amount for a down payment or to pay full price for the car. And we said write them down so you're likely to achieve because they're written down and stated in positive terms. So most of your goals should be realistic and attainable, but it's okay to have some dream goals too. You evaluate along the way to determine if your goals have changed. You can give yourself permission to release goals if you decide it's not what you really want. Okay? So, and it's important to bring your family into this because everyone has to be on the same page. If it makes it easier to save the money if your children know that you're planning on getting a house and maybe they'll have their own bedrooms. And so then you're bringing them into the saving part of it and teaching them that this is how you get the items that you want over time and not putting yourself in bad credit issues later. Okay? Okay, so let me see where we're at here. Okay, so some things you need to do. We kind of talked about this in some of our other budgeting classes. Identify money wasters. Okay, so we all have little things we do during the week that take resources away from working toward our goals. These can be things like morning coffee stops, impulse buying, shopping for entertainment, whatever. So often we don't even realize how much money we waste. So a good way to discover spending leaks is to keep a log or a journal, okay? So keep a detailed spending record for an entire month and ask every member of your family to participate. Try to write down everything you purchased and the amount you spent. At the end of the month, review your spending log journal and think of ways to reduce or eliminate unnecessary spending so you will have more money to use toward your goals. Okay? A lot of banks, if you do online banking, a lot of the banks now have on their apps a way for you to actually track your spending. So it may say McDonald's, and it will put entertainment next to it, or fast food. And so that shows you what you're spending. The only problem I've seen out of the one that myself and my husband use is that if you stop for gas at a gas station, it doesn't actually put what you're using it for. It'll say something like convenience store fees. So it might be that you have to go in and actually type something into that. But I encourage you to look at your bank's websites, because a lot of times they have a lot of tools that can help you in maintaining this for each month. But I do encourage all of you to follow your budgets every month, and I want you to create a budget, and then I want you to actually watch your spending in that month and have your spouses do it. It doesn't matter if you stop and buy a pop, log everything, okay? And I think you'll be you'll be enlightened by where all your money goes. I've found that we do a lot of going to the grocery store real fast because we forgot to lay something out for dinner. So different things like that can really add money or take money out of your budget. Okay? Okay, so now we're moving on to managing your debt wisely, okay? So, when used properly, debt can be used to acquire appreciating assets and can help build your credit score. However, debt can easily become a trap. A lot of times whenever you start looking at building a credit history, boy, you run out there and you get all the credit cards you can, and then you have some catastrophe in your life and you max every single one of those cards out. Well, now those cards have become a negative in your life. So I encourage you to put into your budget the little things that you know could creep up in your life. Maybe you have to travel for a funeral, or maybe you get fired. You should have, 6 months worth of savings of what your paycheck would be, because sometimes it can take you that long to find a new job, okay? So now we're going to look at the debt to disposable income ratio, okay? So this will be another question, so I do want you to do this one, and you'll give me the answer on the survey, okay? So, what is it? Total monthly debt payments, excluding your mortgage, and then your net monthly income, your take-home pay. So, it's what your paycheck is, what is actually deposited into your account. So, one way to check if your non-mortgage debt is too high is to calculate a debt to disposable income ratio. So add the total of all your monthly debt payments except for your mortgage, and then divide by our net disposable income. So less than 10% is best, and higher than 16%, you may be getting in over your head. So aim for 15% or less, okay? So, debt checkup. So we talked about the first one a little bit ago, okay? So pay more than the minimum. Maybe you can only do $5 or $10, but that takes off from your actual principal, and so it will lower the amount that is being charged on your interest rate. It won't necessarily lower your interest rate, but if your interest rate is figured at what the balance is, so a lower balance is where that would be figured in at. Make ends meet and pay on time. So you're easily able to make ends meet and pay off all your bills, okay? You're able to make more than minimum monthly payment on credit cards or pay balances in full every month, which is always the best idea. Maybe leave $5 or $10 just so they can see that you are paying it down. And then we also talked about having your emergency savings fund. I always talk about if you have a car, then you should always be putting money back into a savings account to buy a new set of tires. You should always be putting money back for oil changes and things like that if you don't have money left over after your checks each month. You should be putting money into savings account, and that will make these emergencies less of a bite on your family. Okay. So, debt repayment, make a plan, okay? So here's some other ways to see if you are managing your debt wisely. Okay, you're able to make more than the minimum monthly payment on credit cards, or you pay balances in full each month. We just talked about that. You're easily able to make ends meet and pay all of your monthly bills on time. You maintain an emergency savings fund that is enough to cover at least 2 to 6 months of expenses. Okay, so if you're able to do all that, you're doing really well. Okay, so worried that you have too much debt? Make a plan for repayment. So there are many options available, and one method is to pay off the card with the lowest balance first, then take the money you were paying monthly toward that card and use it to pay off the card with the next lowest balance. Another method is to use all of your extra resources to pay off the card with the highest interest rate. Pay it off as soon as possible and use the money that would have gone toward that payment to start paying more on the credit card with the next highest balance. So you can learn more about those and other repayment options at powerpay.org. Use the tools and calculators on PowerPay to determine your best repayment plan. Okay, so that might be a good option for you. And it's a good way to get those payments paid down. Okay, so 5 steps to building your best credit score. Okay, so monitor your credit report. Okay, check your credit score and understand the scoring system. Find your motivation and manage your debt wisely. Okay, so you can use the website that we have below for that. Write it down. They have lots of different options you might want to use. So in summary, you can make credit work for you. Monitor your credit report by checking your free annual report every 4 months, okay? So every 4 months you need to be pulling that. Check your credit score as needed, such as when you are shopping for a loan. Understand the components that impact your credit score and use them to build your score. Determine your personal goals. Use money and other resources to meet your goals. and keep a close eye on debt and have a good management plan. Okay? All right. So, I know this seems a little bit shorter than usual, but during the actual session, she had some activities that they did. So this is the information. We apologize that we could not get the live streaming to work this time. However, it's still all the information she provided. If you have any questions on the survey, I will have a box open that is for those questions, and then I can send those over to Miss Trudy and she will answer them for me, and then I will send them back. Those of you who have returned your assessments on your homes, we will be calling you and setting up for our exit interviews, and you will get your pack at that point. We are going to be setting those up within the next month. Our program ends on September 30th, so everyone will be exited at that time, and those that are eligible for recertification will get that letter in the mail. So when you get a letter in the mail, please read it to see if you are actually eligible or not. It will say you've been exited, and then there will be a second letter that says you are free to recertify if you have that ability, okay? Please don't call the office and ask, because only Farron and I will know those. We will not be sharing that with the receptionist. So please just check with us. Not everyone will have the ability to reapply next year. So the reason for not being eligible will be stated in the letter, okay? So it's been great working with you. Farron and I have had so much fun with you guys this year, and we look forward to the changes coming to our family development, and we hope you do too. We will leave the Facebook open. However, you will notice that some may be removed because they've met their time limit or they did not recertify. We do want to keep that a closed group, so please do not invite individuals to the group that are not in the program, because they will not be approved. Sometimes we share different information on there that is for a private group, and we don't want to have people out there blabbering about maybe some family issues that might be going home or going on at home. So please be respectful of that. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us, Facebook us, and we'll answer them if we can. Hope you guys learned quite a bit this year. Hope you're able to become more self-reliant. You teach this to your family so that maybe they don't have the same struggles that we have had growing up, and then again as adults. We've provided enough tools now that you should be able to go out and share with other community members on ways they might be able to pull themselves out of instability and make themselves stable, maybe for the first time ever. So please share what you have learned. If you think they might be eligible for the program and be a good fit, please send them to the local offices and we will take care of them. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening.